When you picture a city, what do you see? Probably concrete sidewalks and paved streets, crammed between some huge concrete skyscrapers that tower above everything else. According to the 2016 study, Planting Healthy Air, planting trees in just a portion of these artificial spaces would, quote, serve as one of the most cost-effective methods of curbing urban air pollution levels and combating the urban heat island effect in major cities. However, despite the benefits to the environment, people's moods, and even deterring crime, cities are doing little to slow the decline of their tree coverage. Even Atlanta, the city in a forest, has seen its canopy dwindling by the day. Development and construction, pushed by the city of Atlanta to urbanize, has been a major contributor to this decline. For now, Atlanta retains enough tree coverage to remain a city in a forest and one of the nicest, cleanest cities in the United States, but action is needed to keep it that way. As a team of Georgia Tech students who think maintaining Atlanta's tree coverage is important, we decided to learn more about Trees Atlanta, an organization that aims to do just that. We researched Trees Atlanta's history, current projects, participated in one of their volunteer tree planting weekends, and visited their headquarters to see what kind of difference they are really making. Although it is difficult for a volunteer organization to outpace an army of developers looking to build as much as possible, as fast as possible, we believe that the education efforts of Trees Atlanta are essential to maintaining Atlanta's tree canopy. Trees Atlanta defines effective environmental education via volunteering events, special programs, and community outreach. As it pertains to our work with Trees Atlanta, we found that environmental education that takes place only in the classroom fundamentally lacks the ability to teach what it means to do the hard work of improving the environment. By promoting experiential learning, Trees Atlanta provides the city with the knowledge and resources necessary to make a real difference. After working with the organization, we can attest to the importance of such experiential learning. Trees Atlanta's founding in 1985 was a joint effort between a group of business leaders in downtown Atlanta, Central Atlanta Progress, the Atlanta Commissioner of Parks, a city official, and the Atlanta Junior League. Realizing that the business district in Atlanta had significantly fewer trees than other parts of the country, this odd combination of groups led to an organization that remains dedicated to preserving the tree canopy of the city of Atlanta to this day. In its first year, Trees Atlanta planted 40 trees to shade the downtown area. According to the Trees Atlanta website, the volunteer organization has since planted over 113,000 trees throughout the metro Atlanta area. Trees Atlanta, even in its relatively short life, has already made a noticeable impact and is now responsible for most of the trees seen in the downtown and midtown areas. The heart of what makes Trees Atlanta run is the volunteer sessions, in which a group of about 40 people plant trees at the day's location after a group of staff demonstrate the proper method to new volunteers. After seeing from the experts how to dig holes of the appropriate size, open up root balls, make a berm, and other details of how to properly plant a tree, everyone has the knowledge necessary to plant a tree without help in the future. As one volunteer said to us, he learned what he needed to know to plant his cherry tree back home. Planting a tree is simple, but important to get right if the tree is to survive, so the instruction at the volunteer planting session is very important. However, anybody can learn the steps to planting a tree online. But we learned so much more than any guide or YouTube video could teach once we started doing the real hands-on work. Even before we started planting, we learned just how strong the community that Trees Atlanta has built really is. We were joined by families, volunteers from a business, other college students, veteran planters, and more. Even though most of the people did not know each other, it was clearly a friendly environment and groups immediately began to mingle. Even though we arrived on site unknowledgeable, without gloves, and without knowing anybody else there, we all felt immediately welcomed. Beyond making connections with other volunteers, over the course of the day, several residents where we were planting talked with the volunteers and staff, generally eager to know more about Trees Atlanta and their operation. Teaching volunteers and residents alike about Trees Atlanta's mission is certainly one of the keys to building a strong community that can really make a difference. Work started by a steaming pile of mulch near the site. This mulch will be used to help protect the tree once it has been freshly planted. Volunteers fill dozens of buckets with mulch and load them onto a truck to be brought back to the main site. Once the pile is gone, the truck drives back and the staff distribute 2 buckets of mulch to the site of each tree. Volunteers head to where the trees are ready to be planted and get to digging. In order for the tree roots to grow correctly, the holes need to be just the right size, with the sides scored. Before the tree can be planted, it has to be removed from its bucket. Since the roots have taken the shape of the bucket, it is important that the roots be opened up. At this point in the process, everyone is covered with dirt, sweat, and clay. By getting yourself in the dirt and paying close attention to what the tree needs to thrive, it is easier to appreciate the trees around the city. After making a space for the tree and knowing what a tree needs to survive, it is also easier to see the potential in a barren, unplanted space. Seeing what a space could be with a little bit of work is crucial to getting more trees planted in the city. Once the hole is dug and the root ball unbunched, most of the real dirty work is finished. The tree is held in place in the hole, the displaced dirt is returned, shaped into a berm, and covered with 2 buckets of mulch. This mulch will help collect water, protect the roots, and ward off any nearby lawnmowers. Now the tree just needs to be watered. 10 gallons of water are poured around the base of the tree, slowly so that it does not leak. Having planted our first tree, we were shocked to see just how easy planting a tree really is. Helping people realize that planting a tree is easy, quick, and maybe even fun is a necessary step for helping get more people out there planting trees. Planting this magnolia tree only took our group about an hour of work, and for the next 80 to 120 years, it will provide the community with cleaner air, shade, and nicer streets. With a total of 120 man-hours, our small group planted over 100 trees that will last for over a century. That's over 87 million tree hours. Probably the most striking thing we learned from our little morning planting is that when there are this many hardworking, dedicated people, restoring the city's trees becomes a much less Herculean task. Although it may be cliché, it is important for people to know that they really can make a difference. Even though knowing that there's a payoff ratio of 750,000 tree hours for every hour spent working, actually getting outside and doing the work is the only way to really feel like something impactful can be accomplished individually. Even though Trees Atlanta is just trying to get trees planted, the nature of the work makes environmental education an experience that cannot be replicated. Although this hands-on learning experience is most important, Trees Atlanta is devoted to educating the public through various traditional programs as well. As a volunteer organization, they need the communities around Atlanta to be informed about the importance of urban forests and how to preserve nature in and around the city. As they say, keeping Atlanta known as a city in the forest requires your support and action. Before we left the planting site, we talked with one of the staff, Kate, about Trees Atlanta's education efforts beyond their volunteer planting sessions.
We have a whole educational section that has an office over on Krog Street. And so they do a lot of work in the schools. They go into a different school every day, do like break camps, all sorts of educational programs, arboretum tours, BeltLine tours. So we've definitely got a bunch of stuff going on beyond just the trees. So for kids, we have people that go into a lot of the schools around town. So we'll do different programming there. We do when like schools are on break, we'll do camps that are like, different activities, going out on the BeltLine, learning about trees, all sorts of things. We have like for little tiny kids, they have a reading group, I know. And then adult education is more, we do canopy conversations, which is basically trying to get like community involvement in affecting like the tree policy in the city, and just like, getting people involved who are like interested in protecting the canopy. BeltLine tours, arboretum tours, walking tours, plant sales, all sorts of things. And there are a lot of, like, if you're interested in any sort of environmental advocacy or policy or trees, anything, like we have it for you. Finishing up the watering on the other street right now. We have everything you need.
Members of our group also visited the Trees Atlanta headquarters in Reynoldstown, a wood, glass, and clay building that is LEED Platinum certified and surrounded by trees. There, we spoke with a man named Sean to learn more about the inner workings of Trees Atlanta. He talked mainly about the Trees Atlanta education program, which started in 2008. In 2015, Trees Atlanta opened their Tree House, their main education center on Krog Street. Trees Atlanta's adult education focuses on volunteer sessions, like the one we attended, gardening classes, and 5Ks. However, Trees Atlanta has been shifting their education programs to primarily focus on young children to foster a love of nature at a young age. To this end, Trees Atlanta sponsors art projects and youth programs, which they call Urban Tree Trackers, and Junior Tree Keepers. These programs have seen a steady increase in participation, despite being entirely volunteer-based. More information on these programs can be found on the youth education and adult education pages of the Trees Atlanta website. As Kate and Sean explained, the education programs are separated into 2 main branches, youth education and adult education. Youth education at Trees Atlanta aims to show the importance of trees to young people. The Scout Badge program involves helping Scouts earn their nature-focused badges by visiting the Trees Atlanta Treehouse. This program allows Scouts of all ages to be involved with Trees Atlanta and to get to know the natural side of an urban city. Trees Atlanta also offers camps for youth, where children can learn about nature with hands-on experiences, like field trips and biking the Atlanta BeltLine. The Urban Tree Trackers program offers a K-12 series of sessions where Trees Atlanta staff visit several schools 4 times throughout the school year to help the students better understand trees and their impact on the city. On the other hand, adult education is aimed at teaching the best methods for preserving natural urban forests. This involves educating the public on how to plant trees, care for trees, and remove invasive species. One of the largest programs that Trees Atlanta provides is Atlanta BeltLine Arboretum and Tours. Trees Atlanta is building a 22-mile arboretum which, according to the BeltLine website, is, quote, an elaborately curated, city-scale mix of existing and cultivated tree species that is at once an urban forest, an ecological connector, a corridor for scientific research, and a collection of remarkable public spaces. So far, Trees Atlanta has planted 10 acres of native grasses and wildflower prairie. Once the project is finished, the Atlanta Beltline will be a representation of the city's natural history. While Trees Atlanta is continuously working on the project, you can learn more by registering to walk the Atlanta Beltline with an expert Trees Atlanta docent on the Trees Atlanta website. This free tour of the East Side Trail covers 2 miles round trip and is an invaluable opportunity to learn about Atlanta's urban forests. Trees Atlanta also offers a monthly speaker series where they address various urban ecology and sustainability issues. Various training programs like pruning classes, the Tree Keepers program, and docent training are among the ways in which Trees Atlanta supports education of the public. If you are interested in conservation of the environment, pay a visit to Trees Atlanta's website and consider signing up for their newsletter to get more information about new and upcoming programs. While we believe that the most important environmental education is hands-on, the traditional education efforts of Trees Atlanta provide useful information and motivate people to become volunteers by helping them understand the issues. In addition to education efforts, Trees Atlanta does a lot of outreach to get new volunteers. While on the planting site, we also interviewed Ren, another member of the staff, who told us about some of Trees Atlanta's outreach.
We do a lot of things. We have a lot of standing in the community already. I think just people knowing our name gets people curious and interested. We do outreach to colleges and universities. We provide community service hours for people who need hours for various reasons. And, you know, we're very involved in the community. We go to neighborhood association meetings, and I think people just hearing our name get curious about us and want to get involved.
Right. And what's your favorite type of tree?
Right now, I think as far as Atlanta trees go, I really love white oaks. I think that they're really beautiful. They have really cool bark. And I love their, gnarly shape, so.
Trees Atlanta also has an active Twitter account with over 11,000 followers. Even if Trees Atlanta has the best education programs in the world, it wouldn't mean anything if people didn't know about them. So it's good that they are putting a lot of effort into outreach as well as education, which, in the end, leads to more people helping protect the tree canopy. Trees Atlanta's multifaceted approach to environmental education, focusing on hands-on work, is the best way to motivate people to maintain and grow Atlanta's tree canopy. By using traditional education and outreach as entry points for new volunteers, Trees Atlanta fosters a vibrant community of volunteers and motivated planters. Trees Atlanta truly provides a method of education like no other. Next time you're walking the streets of Atlanta, look around. The results speak for themselves.
No. Dude, Ah! Gotta keep that noise in.